Hello and welcome to a new episode of Hispanic Marketing in 5 minutes with Hop Group. As always, I'm Carolina Fernández, CEO of Hop Group, joining you in this new episode of where we talk about Hispanic marketing trends, insights, and all that interesting information for your company and for your brand to start generating more revenue from that very interesting audience. So in a prior episode, I talked about the three characteristics that unite all Hispanics, no matter where they're from, where they're originally from, or where their cultural background is. Music, food, and family are the three things that unite all Hispanics, no matter where they're from. Now, it's very important that when you work with your team or when you work with your Hispanic marketing agency towards a new campaign, you can creatively and naturally find a way that you can adapt your general market message to Hispanics, but that in a way that you can also include these three things that will help your brand connect on a more emotional level, and that's going to generate better results and a better impact within the Hispanic audience for your brand. Now, let's talk about a little bit about what's the deal with music and food for Hispanics. Well, there's a very important thing that you have to keep in mind, and it's that music and food for Hispanics they play a central role in their family dynamics. Hispanics, more than any other type of group of audience of market, relates to food and music to feel closer to their families, to enjoy and value that kind of like that family dynamic, dinners, parties, celebrations. Music and food are always very important for them. It's exactly what keeps Hispanic families together. It's a very important tradition all over the 21 countries that are considered Hispanic. Music and food it's what keeps them together. And as generations move to the U.S. and they're either like first generation or second, third, fourth, fifth generation Hispanics in the U.S., it's very important for them. And it's two traits that no matter how adapted or how part of the general market they become and they feel, it still is a sense of belonging. They feel related to their culture and to their background through music and food. Even and research has shown that younger generations agree that music and food is very important for them because it keeps them connected to the roots. It keeps them connected to that tradition that their parents or their grandparents or different families have. Now, something interesting about music, Pandora did a research on this, and they found out that 72% of Hispanic millennials said that they connect to their heritage through music, through Spanish music. That's something very interesting because we're talking about this younger audience, that most of them are English dominant, but still they find music in Spanish to be important for them. And as brands, that's a very interesting insight on how we can get to a point where we can connect our messages, our communication messages, and our campaigns through music with Hispanics. That's going to be very interesting. Now, let's talk about a little bit about family. What happens with family within Hispanics? And it's important because they have some special characteristics. First of all, Hispanics show that they lean on family for emotional support more than any other type of audience. And something important is that Hispanic families tend to help each other. Many of them help family members in an economic way. And that shows a sense of belonging and a sense of connectivity and a sense of community that is very specific to the Hispanic audience. Now, many Hispanics in the U.S. also support their family members that are still outside the U.S. in their country of origin. And that's something important to understand and to know as brands and as marketers because that means that Hispanics tend to stay together. Even though they move to a different country, even though they move to the U.S., they're still connected to their family members who are living abroad. and they still want to help each other. And that's something that opens up a whole new possibility for messages and for campaigns and for the way we talk to our Hispanic audience. Now, another very important thing about family within Hispanics is that many households are still multi-generation. That means that 3 or more generations live in the same household. And again, that's something very important when we think about marketing strategies, because that means that if you're trying to reach an older audience, maybe you can do it through younger audience channels, through social media, because this household, they live parents, uncles, grandparents, younger kids. They talk to each other constantly, more so than many other audiences that live in different places. The fact that they're still together and they still share their everyday life is a big opportunity for brands and for companies to reach them in creative, innovative ways and get them to become ambassadors for a brand. So that's a little bit about what's the deal with music, with food, with family for Hispanics. Very interesting to think about how to include those insights within your Hispanic marketing campaigns. It was a pleasure sharing this couple minutes with you today. I hope you enjoyed this content. Again, as you always know, if you have any questions, if you have comments, please feel free to send me a Facebook a message or through our website, which is on the screen. Please help us share this content with anyone that you might know that might benefit from it. It was great to see you again. See you next week. Carolina Fernández, CEO of Hot Group, with another episode of Hispanic Marketing in 5 minutes with Hot Group. Ciao.